Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Magical Maiden and welcome to Magical Maiden's Vlogs. Like my backgrounds? I love these backgrounds. I've been having a lot of fun with them. And even though I changed my room around and it looks nice with my new desk and everything and I have nice stuff in the back, I'd like to have a change. I like to have pretty things. I put the snow in the background because even though I live in the South, it's kind of cold. It was in 37, but now it's like in the 50s. But I put the heat on because it's a little cold and chilly. So I felt a little coziness was in store and put a fireplace on in the background. But anyway, okay. So I was catching you up on the incidences that happened with my neighbor and my sister. So where I left off was where the incident that had happened, and then I got into an argument with my neighbor. Okay, so this is basically the whole story from the very beginning. So when we moved in, my sister didn't live next door yet. She only moved in because I had posted that there was a house for sale next door. She lived in PA at the time, so I'm in Alabama. So what happened was there was another neighbor and then another neighbor after that. When we first moved in, there was a lady. She had two little dogs and a black cat that always came here and drank out of my bird bath. And then what happened was the guy across the street we call Dancing Donnie. That's not his name, but we're just going to call him that. And the reason why me and my husband nicknamed him that is because one day we first moved in, we were sitting on our couch and our blinds were open and it was a sunny day. And he's weird. Like I said, he's got like paranoid schizophrenia and he also has like mental issues and he's an alcoholic. So he was drunk and he was outside in the front dancing and he does these weird dances where he goes like this. And his silhouette of him dancing was on the wall and it was hilarious, and me and my husband were laughing at it, and I was like, look, it's Dancing Donnie. So the nickname stuck, so we're gonna go with that. So anyway, and his mother was really friendly at first. She came and said hello, and he was weird. We thought he was weird, but he lived outside, and we always wondered, why did he live outside, right? Because eventually the mother told us, I'm sorry if my son was bothering you, because he came over here a few times talking to me, and she said my son can be annoying. He's paranoid schizophrenia. Sometimes he thinks I'm talking about him when I come over here. She goes, also he can, he's got brain damage or whatever she said. And then she said that I'm sorry if he was over there bothering you. She goes, you might be wondering why he lives outside, because he lived outside in her backyard. So he was always dirty. He didn't really take a shower except when it's warm. He would hose himself off and wash himself outside and go to the bathroom outside because she won't let him in the house. And the reason why she won't let him in the house is because she says, I don't let him in the house. I kicked him out because he tore up the house and trashes it, and he hit me once. And then I said, that's it, you're outside or nothing. And he can't really hold the job down because he gets into arguments. I think one time he had a job at like the Quickie Mart thing, gas station store, and he lost it in a week because he got into an argument with somebody there. And so what happened was, she says he's outside, and that's where he's got to stay because I can't trust him to come in the house. And I don't feel safe with him in the house, so he's not coming in. So basically, at first it wasn't so bad. And that's kind of how we got our cat Magic, the black cat. He was hanging around the house. And then he would hang around waiting for his food over there because she has an outside cat. And she feeds him there, and then he always fed like the stray cats and dogs that came around. And so what happened was, one day he was waiting to eat, and he was waiting for about an hour, but dancing on. He was too busy dancing. He was like drunk in the yard going like this. And the poor thing waited for over an hour. And then he got disappointed and walked away. And that's when he stopped dancing. And then he put food out, but two stray dogs came and devoured it. So I was like, oh, that poor little thing. And he was so skinny. And I'm like, come on, he's so young. He looks like he's only 2 or 1 years old at the time. So I'm like, please, to my husband, I've got to feed him. And at the time, I still had Rudy. Rudy was alive. And of course, Salem. And Salem still is alive. So I put food out, and little by little, he kept coming closer. And then he eventually lived in my yard. And then now he lives in the house. It'll be going on 2 years that he lived in the house. And, but he wasn't so bad. But what happened was the incidents that he was getting, starting because he's an alcoholic, so he started getting drunker. And he would drink more. And so there was more of a mess out front. He would argue with his mother because he wanted money. I think he gets a certain amount of money from the state from being mental, who knows. And he would get into arguments with her and call her the C word, the B word, the FU, this, and he would kick her front door and pound and blow up her phone, texting and calling. Then he'd go to the side door, and the whole neighborhood hears it. And she was the type that always cowers in the house. She'll keep the blinds all shut. She'll hide in her back bedroom. And it's like, it's not fair because the whole neighborhood has to deal with this. You know what I mean? What happened was, okay, so the whole story is, I'm just going to bring my microphone closer to me so that you can hear me better. If I went like this, you could probably really hear me good. But so what happened was, he basically started drinking a lot more, and he's a raging alcoholic now because he wakes up in the morning, he drinks, and he doesn't stop. So basically back then he was just having a few beers every now and then, but now he was having a lot more, and alcohol, regular alcohol bottles. So he was getting worse. And there was a thing of garbage in the driveway, which I can see. It was like a pile. And he was just making a mess. So sometimes he used to live in a tent, but when we had a hurricane, his tent blew away. So his brother for Christmas got him another tent, a bigger one, which didn't last because when we had another bad storm, that one collapsed. So he basically lives in his car. He sleeps in his car and then would do that. But anyway, he was just getting worse and worse, and she got fed up, and she told us one day. Now, she was good friends with us. She'd come over. We'd give each other gifts during the holidays. I would give her jewelry because I make jewelry, by the way. I made these earrings, and I made this necklace. And you can see the tutorial for this. I made these the same way you made this. So if you want to know how, it's just earrings. Put earring fishhooks. You can go check out my jewelry tutorial playlist. So basically, she was our friend. She used to come over. We were, I'd give her jewelry I made or I got for reviews that I wasn't going to wear because I got a lot of jewelry. And everything was really good, And she always apologized for him. She goes, I'm sorry for the mess. I'm sorry. Because we'd have to, his beer cans would roll over here. His garbage would roll over to our driveway. We were always cleaning up his crap. But, he wasn't that bad. He didn't bother us at the time, even though we didn't want to hear him cursing and screaming, and we didn't want to see the garbage. And he was weird. He would stare a lot. And then I'll get to that because we had a neighbor. They moved out, and then this other single mother moved in, and she seemed okay. We said hello. We said, welcome to the neighborhood. And she seemed okay. But then after a while, after 2 months, she was hardly here anymore. And I'm like, and as she did, she had her boyfriend. And she left her one dog, which I thought was wrong. It was a little Labradoodle. The minute it got bigger, she just left it in the yard. She never brought it in. The dog would bark all the time. I felt bad. He was really sad. Because it wasn't a cute puppy, but she had another dog that was tiny that she would take with her. So she was staying at her boyfriend's. And I find out that he was bothering her, but I found out that later. But I'll get to that. So 1 minute. Okay, so what happened was she got fed up and she goes, I got a court order. And we have a court date. I had to pay $200 so I can get him out of here. And she goes, it's the only way to get him out of here. So basically, he wouldn't leave. She kept telling him to leave. She had enough, and he wouldn't. So meanwhile, he's on probation now, and he has a long arrest record. And so she kicked him out. The judge said, you're 39 years old, get out. So he finally left. We were like, yay. She goes, do me a favor. If you ever see him while I'm at work, pulling up or coming here, text me, let me know. She goes, because he's not supposed to be here, especially when I'm not here. He does have to come sometimes to pick up his mail. She goes, but he's not supposed to be here, so you need to tell me if he's ever here. So I'm like, sure, no problem. And it was great. It was clean again. She finally cleaned up the yard. There was no mess, no things to pick up, no hearing him cursing and screaming. So it was pretty pleasant. What happened was, so anyway, I agreed. We had no problem with that because we didn't want him around anyway. And he was getting increasingly worse, and he was staring a lot, and I always felt uncomfortable whenever I was outside, because I have my little swing outside. We have a lot of property out front and back, but there's enough nice area to have a swing, and I like sitting there. And I felt uncomfortable because he would just like put his feet up, like there's a gate, so like her driveway, then there's a fence with a gate, and he would lean his head over there just staring, and I didn't like that. It made me feel really uncomfortable. And he would wave, and I don't know, he was just creepy. And when he got drunk, he was even more starey, which was most of the time. So what happened was, he was gone. It was great. We didn't see him for like 6 months. I think maybe just once or twice he came to pick up the mail and he left. It was great. It was like, Then that girl, he came back. Well, anyway, before that, the girl next door, like I said, she was hardly there. She put up her house for sale while Dance and Donnie was still living there. And like, she was hardly there. She just moved in, and she didn't spend any time there. She moved in right before Halloween, and she was out of there by like January, February, March. I think she moved, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. She was out of there by March. She put the house for sale, and she hardly spent any time. After November, she was not there. She just left her poor little dog in the yard and would hardly come and feed him. The neighbors next door to her had to feed the dog and give the dog water because they kept seeing that the poor dog was left alone. They felt bad. And we even left her a note on her door saying, and she knew it was us because she has a ring thing, saying, your dog is barking nonstop. It's driving us crazy. The poor thing is just out there. It was just, anyway. So the lady across the street didn't tell us about the incident that he had. Now, I heard it from a neighbor that lives next door to my sister, which lived next door to that lady, because the lady next door, she used to do hair. Funny, my sister does too, but she did hair. She had a hair salon, and so my neighbor next door goes to her, found out the whole story, why she was hardly there. So we found out, but I'll get to that, what happened. So what happened was, the reason why I don't look at my camera and I'm looking at me, but I'm looking because the ring light is like right in my eyes, and I'll get a migraine if I'm just staring at the camera like this for too long. It'll hurt my eyes. So bear with me. So what happened was, you know what? I'm going to change. I'm sorry. I'm such a procrastinator. Okay. So anyway, things were great. My sister then, he's been gone for a long time. He'd only come once in a while. My sister moves in. So now my sister's living there, and all of a sudden, Dancing Donnie's back again. He keeps staying. She always falls for it. The mother lets him stay there for a day or for a weekend, and then she'll be like, he's only here for the weekend. I know he's going to be there. You don't have to text me. He's only there for the weekend. Then he's going to leave. Then she'd be like, he's only going to be here for 2 days. Then he leaves. Then he's only going to be here for this week. Then he leaves. She kept doing that. So we're like, it's going to happen again. You know what I mean? And he was getting worse. So anyway, what happened was, and this is before my sister's son, my nephew, came living there, because once my nephew moved in there, there's been nothing but trouble between the two of them. Of course, they got to know each other. So what happened was, my sister didn't like him either coming around, because he kept coming around. And then one day, I'm trying to think of my sister lived there at this time. The stabbing incident, because he pulled a knife on my husband. What happened was, and I told this story in a few, but this is the continuation. So what happened was, here's my mic. I just want to make sure you can hear me, because I talk low, because when I raise my voice too much, I tend to get a sore throat. So what happened was, one day, it was his birthday. Now, like I said, she kept letting him stay there for every stupid excuse or reason under the sun. And so I got fed up with it. And I was getting annoyed with him. And then what happened was, that day, he was really drunk. He was drinking beers. And then later he was drinking alcohol. And he always puts them in a paper bag. Like, we can't tell. And he was getting drunker and drunker. And he was staring more. He always did that when he got drunk. So what happened was, I was going to go out to the garbage. I was going to go out to get the mail. And my husband's like, no, I have to bring the garbage in, because the garbage man came and took the garbage. I'm like, oh, okay, if you're sure. He's like, yeah. So I stood by the door. I was petting my cat. My cat went to look out the window, out the door, and my husband was out there, and I was just watching, because I see Dancing Donnie come over to my husband, and he does this thing where he goes like this. Like, you ever see the Joker movie where he's walking like this really low and doing this weird walk? So he was doing that. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And he walks over to him, my husband, he's like, it's my birthday. And his bad breath, because he doesn't really clean himself. He doesn't take a shower, hardly brushes his teeth. Plus he's been drinking and smoking all day. So my husband's like, whew. It reeked of alcohol and just stench. And he's like, okay. And he moved back. And so my husband's getting the mail out of the mailbox, and he goes, it's my birthday. And my husband's like, okay, I know. I said happy birthday, happy birthday. And so he's like in his face, and he goes, back up. My husband didn't touch him, but he just put his hand up and said, back up. So he went like this, backing up. But because he was so drunk, he stumbled and fell. And he goes, you pushed me. And he pulls out a knife, a pocket knife. And he's like, I ought to stab you. And he was saying all this stuff. And my husband's like, what the? With that, I ran out there. And I told my husband, get over here. So my husband grabbed the garbage pail, put it back. And I said, get in the house. And he goes, that MFer tried to stab me. He goes, I didn't even touch him. He's just so drunk. He couldn't stand up. He could barely walk. So we called the cops. We kept trying to get a hold of his mother, and she wouldn't pick up the phone. And his sister was over there. Nobody was picking up the phone. We texted her, called her, nothing. Because I said, before we call, let's give her the benefit of the doubt, because up until that point, we were still friends. She wouldn't pick it up, so my husband said, finally she did, and she goes, oh, I was on the other line, which I don't think so. She goes, well, do what you got to do, because we explained it, right? So we called the cops. So he filled out a report, and the cops said, you should really, do you want to press charges? And we're like, we don't know. He goes, well, you have up to a year, but I would press charges, because this guy has a long arrest record, and he's going to just keep doing it. And, I'm just telling you. And I'm like, well, I'm going to give the mother a chance, because we're friends, to see if she'll rectify this by getting rid of him. So later on, I was talking to the sister. She's like, I don't know about him. He's crazy. And the mother was even like, yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. She goes, sometimes he told me that you pushed him, but I know that he makes up stories, because in his head, he doesn't know anything that's going on. Plus he's drunk. And she's like, thank you for not pressing charges. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, fast forward, he wasn't around for a couple of months after that, but every now and then he'd come by and she'd kick him out, right? So that was great. But then after a year, I guess she forgot about it and he started coming by again. So there's been incidences that I told you in my last one, because then my sister's son came, and he's troublemaking, also on probation, also arrest record from since he's been 11, and he's just trouble. Those two met one day and they started talking about shit. They started talking crap about me and my husband, my own nephew. And I never did anything to him. And I warned him that that guy tried to stab my husband. But you think he, being my nephew, he would have took our side. But instead he makes friends with the guy and starts trashing on us. So one day I started yelling at him. I said, you know what, get off our property. Get the hell out of here, because my sister's driveway's next door. And I said, I'm going to call the police on the both of you because I'm fed up. So my sister was out. I tried to text her to tell her, but she was busy. She couldn't, So she comes home, and instead of coming here to find out, she listens to her son, who she knows always lies, and then she goes straight over to the lady across the street and didn't come here. So it started up a big fight. We since patched it up, but it was a big, giant fight, because I'm like, you pick a stranger over family, and you don't even want to hear the truth from us or our side. I go, what you should have done was come straight to me and find out what happens, because your son lies. And then she was being nice to Dance and Donnie, and she can't stand Dance and Donnie. So I was disgusted with the whole thing, and I didn't talk to her for 4 months. But then on my birthday, I saw her and the lady across the street. They tied balloons on my swing, happy birthday, and she put a present down. And I was very hesitant on going out there, because I didn't, I knew that I couldn't trust. But we made friends again, and then I was friends again with her, and we explained the situation. And then it didn't matter, because my nephew started crap again with the jerk. He was being good, he wasn't drinking, and then the week before New Year's, she let him come and stay, Dance and Donnie. And he started drinking. He was drinking from like morning to night every day. And he had like a 12-pack of Tall Boys, and he had a bunch of them, a bunch of 12-packs. I would see him rearranging them. When he'd polish off one, he would keep them in the trunk of his car to try to hide it, and then he'd bring it in the front. And he's not supposed to. He's on probation for drunk driving. They should have just kept him in jail. And he still drinks and then gets in the car and drives. But when I told the cops, they said that's between him and his probation officer. But probation officers do nothing. They just want the money that they pay every month. They don't really give a crap what these people do. So, which is scary that nutcase who barely can walk because he gets so drunk is driving a car and nobody's doing anything. No matter how much we complained about it. And he already wrecked his second, I think this is his third car. I don't know why his mother went and got him a new car. He already wrecked it, and he only had it for like 2 weeks. And she makes excuses for him, knowing full well the truth. And it was just nothing but trouble that whole week. And eventually what happened was, one day my husband and I went grocery shopping. We saw him sitting on my sister's driveway on the chair with a 12-pack between his legs. And my nephew comes out and they sit there. And then he hands my nephew a beer, and they both look at us. And because we were taking groceries out of the car, and they start saying stuff, and I just ignored them. And I called my sister. I said, there's going to be trouble. You better get out there. So she just said something and moved the chair garbage. And so it was a big to-do, and he caused a lot of trouble, and they got really drunk, and they caused trouble in the trailer park at the end of the road, and there was people yelling, cops came, the whole shebang. I had an argument with my nephew. He threatened and cursed us out, and I told him not to come on my property anymore. I don't want nothing to do with my nephew. He told me to go F myself. I told him to go F himself, and that was it. So that loser, that week, he kept after that incident, he kept still staying there drinking from the minute he woke up to the minute he, went to sleep in his car. And he would stare at us, sticking his middle finger up, saying F you, saying all this stuff, and then dancing in front and sticking his middle finger up. And we kept texting. We're like, come on, man. We were friends. She even came over for Christmas, gave me a gift. I gave her a gift. We thought we could, she'd get control of him. Like, what is he doing here? She goes, he's my son. I'm all he has. I'm like, he's freaking 40 years old. And he's drinking and he's not supposed to be, and he's there, and we have to be subdued. She goes, well, then don't look, shut your blinds. I'm not living in my house barricading myself like you do. That's what we told her. And she's like, well, you pushed him. And she's just like, because we brought up, hey, he tried to stab me. I should have pressed charges when I could, but now it's been over a year. You can't. And she goes, oh, you pushed him. That's why he pulled a knife on you. And we're like, no, he didn't. He was drunk and he fell down. And she goes, well, he only had a pocket knife. It doesn't matter what it was. You could still kill someone or hurt somebody with a pocket knife. And that's not the point. And so she made excuses for him, and my husband got fed up and said, you know what, full stop, don't talk to me. We went to the sheriff's department, we got a security cam, and we're filming him. So we're doing it the legal way, and we're doing what the sheriff told us to do. So we're like, just keep your damn son in the house and away from us. But she won't. She tried to keep him in the house, and I kept seeing him come out every 10 minutes and go in and drink some beer, because you saw him go in his car and drinking, and then he'd go back in. So she probably couldn't take it, and she kicked him out. And he was outside. And then finally, 2 days later, he left, and he's been gone since. So I hope he doesn't come back here. But yeah, so that's the story. I finally caught you up on that. And me and my sister are talking, but she knows my nephew. I said, I don't want no more trouble, because I'll turn him in. Thanks for watching, and I caught you up on that whole thing. And I only deleted those 2 videos because, we made up, so I didn't want to keep that there. But yeah, so there it is in a nutshell. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in my videos. Bye.